at this place, Coco Lopez or Santo Nino. Let's find out and unravel its history, background, culture, and dialect. Barangay Santo Niño, Calapan City is located at the middle part of different barangays such as San Vicente, Ilaya, Bulusan, Kulukulo, and Lumang Bayan. It has different offices like Development Bank of the Philippines, Bureau of Internal Revenue, National Food Authority, and Foster Parents Planning Corporation. Due to this, the place has been receiving the highest share from the national office taken from the income of the barangay. Who would have known that this small place would still be divided into 7 sitios?
Let's dive into the small yet rich history of Barangay Santo Niño na Coco Lopez. We have interviewed a barangay official to find some information about the culture and origin of the barangay.
It started when Dr. Fajardo took over a small place here, which is a piece of land that he owned. It then became a small hospital, but his grandfather died, so the hospital was transformed into a homestay hotel called Flamingo. It was a beautiful place and it became a go-to place of folks from different places, even for foreigners. Unfortunately, due to low income and the poor management of the place, it was bankrupt, and soon there weren't anyone who managed the place. Some people soon kept going in and bringing their small businesses with them. The old location of Flamingo was then occupied by a new business, which is City Walk. It was like an outdoor resto bar which served foods and had live bands every night, but it soon struggled to keep the business running. Right now, everything there is just simple. No more live bands and shows, but there are still some good things to see. Besides City Walk, there are multiple businesses that rose. Car wash, even some sari-sari stores opened. Also, not just far from here, there is like a place where cars and motors are displayed. It's just somewhere around the area. The owner of this land is owned by Bobby Chua. He was the old owner of the warehouse. He was a very rich Chinese who settled down to this place. This barangay wasn't really a barangay at first. It was just a part of Barangay Ilaya, but it was soon declared as a barangay of its own. And then came the leaders of this barangay. They were the barangay captains. There have been almost 7 barangay captains that had served here in this barangay. It was really amazing that our current barangay captain, Mrs. Eden Cleofe, was the first lady captain that was elected. With regards to the language, definitely we use Tagalog. But there were some migrants that came here also, but they also spoke Tagalog. But now there is English and Tagalog, or Taglish perhaps. These languages now are used for communication. Well, I am also a Filipino major graduate, and I can say that Filipino is more prominent here, and with English, it is getting more and more recognized by the people here.
Barangay Santo Niño was once a division of Barangay Ilaya and covers a small part of the place. The division was called Nacoco for having the National Coconut Corporation in the area. Due to Republic Act No. 4390, Nacoco was separated to Barangay Ilaya, thus creating its own government under the barrio's first lieutenant, Mr. Pablo Gamboa. Different establishments such as the breeding station of the Bureau of Animal Industry was built, and also Santo Niño Hospital. In 1968, during Abel Martinez's term, Nacoco was transformed into Santo Nino. It is in accordance to the vicinity of the hospital nearby. From a small community, lots of people migrated from different places. Houses are built, including the Lopez and Simaco subdivision.
Concrete arenas and parties are prominent to the individuals of Barangay Santo Niño. They have different social activities, clubs, programs, and performances to make preserve the tradition of the place. In May, people in all ages celebrate Flores de Mayo, together with social gatherings. This occasion is accompanied by programs and games, including basketball tournaments. Flores de Mayo is also celebrated with Santa Cruzan, novenas, and processions to introduce religion in nature. These festive celebrations contributed to the expansion and preservation of culture to its future generation. But there is also another way.
Schools these days have their own way of teaching as they highlight diverse strategies. But despite of having these strategies, some do not fully understand what needs comprehension, partly due to the language used.
Barangay Santo Niño Calapan City's schools, such as Santo Niño Elementary School and Jesus is Lord College's Foundation, use a dialect familiar to the students to balance learning and comprehension.
Dialects play a big role in a growing society. It is an aspect of knowledge showed through speaking and writing. A way to make someone united with his or her obligations and responsibilities in school premises is to help them be familiar with their surroundings.
Schools here are small yet sufficient for the learners of the barangay.
Most of the people here are business-minded persons, ranging from small businesses up to big ones. Sari-sari stores, small cafeterias, and food stalls can be seen across the entire barangay. Despite settlers having low-income jobs, this barangay's economy has been growing throughout the years. Of course, through the negotiation of goods and services, people use their dialect and develop them over time. Although, it is still unclear whether there are variations of dialects in this area since only a few people have moved back into this place. The main source of food and livelihood are vegetables and fruits. On the other hand, some farmers own cattle and goats, which are necessary for money and economy. Spirituality is important for the people of Nacoco Lopez for it supports their heritage and traditions. The people of Barangay Santo Niño are exposed to different spiritual activities that led their programs and events related to their different centers. Multiple churches can be seen across the entire barangay, such as Calapan Bible Church, JL Church, and the very own Santo Niño Chapel. There are different sectors in this barangay, but Catholic religion is very dominant.
Barangay Santo Niño has improved over the years as people create establishments to make it a well-constructed community. Despite the malls and restaurants covering the place, agriculture rules their economy. Large quantities of bananas, camotes, and cassavas can be found in this barangay. To support the life of each family, they commit themselves to jobs popular to the urban area. Only few individuals go to abroad for higher income.
The barangay has further interest with affairs with the government and are conscious of rights and privileges as members of the community. People indulge themselves in pastimes, including parties and gambling. They are business-minded due to the proximity of the place in the city, but are always committed to religious activities.
On the other hand, the place uses Tagalog as their dialect for everyday living. It is essential to establish an easier way towards understanding. Its main goal is to help people interact in a way that they can understand each other easily. It is important to reflect on something mastered for better perspective.
Barangay Santo Niño is historic. It has a remarkable past. During that time, Santo Niño it was only a city of Barangay Ilaya. But because of the Republic Act 4390, it was separated. This was set apart as a city which then became Barangay Nakoko. It was called Nakoko because it came from National Coconut Corporation. After that, Nakoko was derived from Santo Niño Hospital, which was owned by the former governor, Francisco Infantado. After that, there were many barangay captains who followed them. Their high income increased during that time. Then, if we will think about it, it was first called Capitan Balbario, but after that, it became Barangay Captain as it was called. If we would sum it up, if I am, no, if we would count starting from Capitan Balbario, I am the 10th captain. But if we would sum up the term used as Barrio Captain to what was Capitan Balbario before, I am the 7th. I am the 7th counselor, but I won. Because I was the 7th, others would say it's impossible. But I still won. Maybe because of my performance ability, and that is it. I am the 7th and the only woman. My father was a former captain during 1989 to 1994. Yes, it is really historic. There were many businesses there that were established. There is our first consolidated bank where I was born. I was born there in that area of the bank along the highway. After that, there is the SSS, GSIS, DBP, BPR, or Santo Niño Elementary School, which was only a primary school before, and now, because of the increase of the enrollees, this was then called an elementary school and not a primary school anymore. Um, Santo Niño is significant because this was surrounded by different barangays. Barangay Ilaya, Barangay San Vicente, Barangay Lumang Bayan, and Barangay Bulusan. Yes, that's it. Which is why we are the center, the midpoint, the midpoint. During my term, our financial status flourished in the barangay. I hate corruption. That's why the financial status of the barangay is doing well. I am not saying that the previous administrations were corrupt. It's just that we have our own ways, we have our own system, our own governance, our own strategies in governing. Um, but as for me, if the fund is for the barangay, lend it to the barangay and utilize it wisely and not waste it to other things. Ah, the separation, it was because it was like the history. When we study history of why Latin America has its own states, and also like, what was this place called? Southeast Asia? Like South Korea. South Korea is separated. The Republic Act 4390. This was the independence which ratified the separation of Santo Niño, and what was included in that? Because firstly, maybe it had its own fund. It had its own government. I mean by government is our governance, which had the barangay captain and had the sangguniang barangay member and had the SK chairwoman. That is what makes the barangay to be able to govern its place. This is the separation to gain independence from different barangays because Barangay Santo Niño has also 7 sitios. That's all of it about Republic Act 4390 of why it was separated and also because of the growing population. It shouldn't be only a sitio, but it should be a barangay already because of the increase in population. The improvement of the place. Maybe the first contributors of the progression of the income in this place were the establishments that were built here, because others here are the corporations, meaning this was distributed by individuals who capitalized here. Yes, they capitalized here in Santo Niño. As far as I remember, there was a foster parents plan here. The foster parents plan, it was governed by the foreigner and they had many beneficiaries as well. They sent them to school, and then at the same time, they had trainings here. They had many trainings here, and the ones who facilitated those were the social workers. Even my mother taught in foster parents plan. She was one of the instructors there. Then there is our breeding station. It is where animals were, but of course, this also contributed to the barangay and who wanted to take care of the animals. That is also one of the sources of livelihood of Barangay Santo Niño. And one more, during the time is the Ramirero. That Ramirero, during the time of my late father Magno Cleofe, has contributed a lot of fund in this barangay. Those were Mr. Atienza. Mr. Atienza was the proprietor of that, and the owner was Melva Atienza. It is where seminars, birthdays, and other events were held. It is really visited by others because it has an event place where there are contributors that gives a portion to the barangay. And of course, more establishments progress in the barangay. And the more business were gained. It increases the income of the barangay and is indeed many. The DBP, since I was born, that was already there. This place also had BIR. It was established more, located at the previous city walk. That is where BIR was. They gradually came in because Santo Niño's location is great. Of course, it is really important for the people to know about it. Because when they go to another place, what is Barangay Santo Niño? I was born there. What can you contribute in that place? And to uplift, what is your barangay? What is the significance? And it's important to each one of us. Others will say to you, just like to Samuel, if you go to another place, where did you come from? Where is your barangay? Barangay Santo Niño. What is the trademark of Barangay Santo Niño? What is the history of it? Because every barangay has its own story of why they bloomed one by one. Dialect is, it is said that if you are Tagalog, Tagalogs are labeled as good people, but the use of it is just like other dialects such as Ilocano or Bisaya. Here, there are many settlers or inhabitants that I do not know of already unless they register here in the barangay, which I will be able to know them. And if they also don't want any vulgatory report, I give clearances, especially barangay clearances. Dialect is really important because it is a way of understanding. If you are a Visaya, of course, if you're a Visaya, you may be brainwashed with Tagalog, or the Tagalog may be brainwashed with Visaya. They may adopt changes. The Visaya would be able to use Tagalog. The Visaya doesn't use po and opo, and they don't use it. There is Ilocano, Kapampangan, and that is the importance of dialect because Tagalog let us mingle with other people of different dialect. How many dialects do we have? We have many dialects. It's like we have 7 dialects if I am not mistaken. There is Ilocano and many others. It is many. Maybe it is already up to them because just like them who are Visaya, maybe if they communicate with the Tagalog, they will learn Tagalog. But here, there is a foreigner couple that learned Tagalog so that they can communicate. Communication is very important. In Japan, if you are Tagalog, you need to adjust. You need to learn Nipongo. You need to learn it. It's not that they will not adjust with your dialect. That is also the same with Saudi Arabia. You need a little bit of knowledge about their language, their dialect. Maybe in teaching, but if you are or their nationality is American or English, if it's English, it's a bit easier. But sometimes there are missionaries who are English speaking. Of course, their dialects are lenient. They will ask to learn. Sometimes they also have tutorial classes. Our Santa Cruzan is now is led by the SK chairperson, Rose, and we need to thank her because last year she had a celebration of Flores de Mayo. But this time, last May, we didn't have it because we all know that there is a pandemic. We observe social distancing. It is prohibited to have social gatherings, which is why our events for gathering people were postponed, all postponed. It is not allowed, but we still celebrate it. Yes, they have, and sometimes I implement community garden, and sometimes the kababaihan have their own community garden and porpoise, but sometimes they just combine the kababaihan and porpoise. Time passes, maybe let us say the use of cell phones and others watching movies, but now, of course, there is no cinema. There are still many things to use or do in their free time, and sometimes there are livelihood that the TESTA offers or the city government, uh, like the making of rugs, dishwashing, yes, that. And those are their things to do in their free time. Livelihood, that is where they use their time mostly. Of course, it's the Roman Catholic, and then the Iglesia ni Cristo or INC, and then the Christians, like the JIL, right? That is Christian. Their religious activities are based on their church. It depends. They only coordinate with the barangay, and we ensure that they follow the minimum health protocols. We are aware of that because we take care of the constituents of the barangay, which is why it is needed to observe social distancing. It is really important. If they have activities, the church and every religious sector have their own set of protocols to observe on how they will conduct their activities in each of their churches. But I think it's okay because one time, someone called me from Filipiniana. They asked me how much capacity is alright. I'll just say that if it's 100% capacity, there should only be 50% of the capacity, half of it. We should observe health standards, and they also asked, what about the children? It's fine as long as they are with their parents, wearing face masks and face shield. Let's follow the health protocols.
Barangay Santo Nino started from scratch. It is a mere part of Barangay Ilaya and has grown over the years. It shared sentiments through the creation of establishments and their government. This barangay has proved its excellence and will continue to do so in the future.
Barangay Santo Niño is a place where different dialects may be encountered in all aspects. Since it has been years and people have been using the same dialect as before, it is not hard for them to interact with each other using the same dialect.
In schools and events, they use the same dialect for better comprehension and socialization. Barangay Santo Niño, Calapan City indeed knows how to reserve a place's essential face.
The Insider.